Call to order the Greenwood Advisory Plan Commission meeting for Monday, June 12th, commencing at 7:32 p.m. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 22nd.
So moved.
We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Monica, second by Mr. Lexi. All in favor, please show a sign of right hand raised. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 9-0. There are no special requests or continuances.
Excuse me.
Yes.
My name is Andrew Barkosi with Barkosi Surveying. I'm representing the PC 2023-030 Warsville Crossing waivers. We were requested a continuance from last meeting. We need 2 more weeks to just get with the owner on the last couple final things. So we're just going to request another continuance to the 26th meeting.
Okay. Need a motion for this? Motion by Mr. King.
Second.
I think Mr. Walker came in. Okay, this is for 2023-26.
No.
Oh, 30.
Okay. In favor, please show sign of raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We will see you. in
Thank you very much.
All right. There are no old business, I don't believe. Is there any old business from the floor? Seeing none, we'll go on to new business. First item, new business is PC 2023-030, the Worsville Crossing waivers. And that has, oh, I'm sorry. That's why I was confused. I thought he was talking about one.
We'll continue to the 26th.
Never mind. I thought this, that I wasn't here the last one. You said you the last one. Okay. I'm back with everything. Next item is PC 2023-031. 2610 East Worsville Road zone map change. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak will have 10 minutes for those speaking in favor, and then we'll have 10 minutes for anybody who wishes to remonstrate, followed by 5 minutes rebuttal for each group. Who is presenting? If you plan to speak on either side, please stand to be sworn in.
You swear to please perjury? Testimony is true to the best of your knowledge.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I approach and hand out some handouts? Thank you. On the system.
We'll share.
I have one.
Oh.
That's it. Thank you. How do I move it forward with the arrows? Thank you very much for your help. You ready?
Ready, please proceed.
Thanks, Mr. President, members of the Planning Commission. Good evening. My name is Brian Toohey. My address is 50 South Meridian. I'm here representing the petitioner in case number 2023-031. Petitioner's Green Tree Lane Holdings LLC. And here with me tonight, I'll have him stand up, is Austin Fruits, who's the Chief Financial Officer and also the Treasurer of the Clark Pleasant School Corporation. He's also a graduate of the Clark Pleasant School Corporation. Alex Cantu, the Vice Chairman of Capital Markets for Colliers, the real estate developer in this matter. Matt Brower, Vice President of Development for Peterson Company, longtime Central Indiana Development Company, and Steve Fairbach, our traffic engineer from A&F Engineering. Thank you for your time this evening in hearing our case. So this site is on the northeast corner of Worsville Road and Collins Road. And so it's on the north side of Worsville Road. It's directly across the street from Taylor's Farm Market. And the site has a total of 40 acres, but this development and this rezoning only applies to about 29 of those acres. So it's owned by the Clark Pleasant School Corporation, has been owned by them for a number of years. And you can see from this exhibit, to the north of the site, you've got the prime remnant distribution building to the north. Off to the northwest, you have FedEx ground. Then up north, a little bit northwest, you have Lions Head Metals. And then, of course, directly across the street, you have Taylor's Farm Market. And members of the Planning Commission, what the petitioner would respectfully request this Planning Commission consider is to take the 29 acres, 29 or 30 acres, and rezone it into two categories. IL for about 23 or 24 of these acres, industrial large, and CL, commercial large, for about 5 or 6 acres. So the idea would be, as you look at that exhibit, is right down on the corner across from Taylor's Farm Market, we'd have about 5 acres of CL zoning. And then north of that, the rest of the site would be IL zoning, which would go all the way to Graham Road, being directly across from where that exhibit says prime remnant. This next couple of exhibits, so this is a photograph taken recently of the site looking north. So in front of you, the road going left to right is Worsville Road, and then the road going off into the background, that's Collins Road. You can see that prime distribution center there. That's the building with the blue and white accents. And you can see this site is now a vacant farm site. This is the northwest corner, so this is directly across the street. That's Taylor's Farm Market. Here is the southwest corner, so directly across the street from Taylor's Farm Market. It's zoned ag and is used for agricultural purposes. And this is looking from Taylor's Farm Market southeast, just so you can see the southern part of this site, which would be the CL zoning commercial site, and then across the street would be the agricultural use. In considering zoning, Planning Commission generally look to see what's around you. And to the north of this site, there's IL zoning on north side of Graham Road, up quite a ways, all the way over to the interstate, and that's illustrated by that purple coloring on this exhibit. As you can see from our exhibit, what we propose and are requesting is to rezone the north 23 acres or so of the site to IL zoning, and the south, right on the corner, real estate people call that the hard corner, we rezone that to a commercial zoning. We don't have an exact site plan of how this would be developed, and this site would have to go through your process, through the planning process for site plan approval. But this takes the 40-acre site and shows the plan commission, illustrates the plan commission of how it could be developed. So at the top could be developed with a warehouse or other IL uses, could be like Lions Head Metals, light manufacturing. That's against Graham Road, so just south of Graham Road, that's where that industrial area would be. Then down on the corner, and that's sort of in the left-hand, bottom left-hand side of this exhibit, that's where that CL zone, so that's where you could have commercial uses. You could have restaurants, you could have offices, you could have medical facilities, the many uses that are allowed in CL. The planning staff has asked us to agree to prohibit certain uses, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and my clients have agreed to do that. But interestingly, I think for the plan commission to consider is the petitioner has agreed that the eastern side of the site, as shown in this exhibit, along the southeast corner and then up the eastern side, that would remain zoned AG, Ag. There's been some preliminary conversations with the town or the city about potentially a donation of that land to the city for some purpose. That's not gotten very far, but this is not going to be developed. This small area of roughly 10 or 11 acres would be left over undeveloped under this proposal. So the plan commission would get an idea of how this might look. We've just taken that site plan and superimposed it on this corner. Again, you can see where Prime Remnant is and Graham Road. Right below that would be the IL zoning. And then below that to the corner would be the CL commercial zoning. And then over in the right-hand corner of that exhibit, you can see that would be the area that would remain zoned agricultural. This is subject to a couple of different comprehensive plans. One of them being the I-65 Horseville Road interchange land map. It shows that this site right down there in the corner suggests retail for this use on 5 acres. That's almost exactly what we're proposing on that corner. Interestingly enough, under the Horseville Road plan, that plan was, I think, put together several years ago. There's an excerpt from the plan that says the Clark Pleasant School Corporation currently owns 40 acres at the corner of Collins Road and Horseville Road. Members of the Plan Commission, that's this site. So your comprehensive plan noted this site in particularity several years ago. And it goes on to say, currently, the Clark Pleasant School Corporation does not see this as the best location for another school facility, but additional long-term planning will continue to take place to understand where the best location for another school facility is. A more appropriate location for a school facility would be located within one of the residential areas east of Collins Road, so that'd be east of our site, and not located directly on Horseville Road due to speed and safety issues related to major thoroughfare. I would ask Mr. Fruits, the Chief Financial Officer for the school corporation, to come up and just briefly describe why the school wants to sell it and why they think it's not a great site for future school use. And then I'll conclude our remarks right after he finishes.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you tonight from the perspective of Clark Pleasant Community School Corporation. I have the privilege of looking at every decision we make from 3 distinct perspectives. One, as an employee who manages or oversees every accounting and financial function of our school district. That includes budgets. And so from a budgetary perspective, I see a couple of benefits here. From a short-term perspective, we have that incoming revenue from the sale of this property, right? So our school district is heavily affected by tax cap losses. And so this would be a short-term answer to some heavy tax cap losses that we're facing this year and next year. The long-term benefit here is the development of this property would increase the net assessed value that would hit our books. So the flexibility of that property tax revenue in the future that would help our operations funds. The second perspective that I see things from is that of the taxpayer in that district. So from the taxpayer's perspective, that is one less location or one less potential building that my property tax money will be going to fund or maintain another building. And then lastly, the perspective of a parent. So my number one priority for my child is safety. This location here, being that close to 65 in the traffic, is not safe for any type of facility that we would want to put up on that plot of land. Not to mention that we already have 3 school buildings in that general area. So another one that close would increase that traffic significantly. With that said, this is kind of a no-brainer for us at the school district. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
So, members of the Plan Commission, we appreciate working with the Gabe and his team and Kevin. They've been very responsive and very courteous, and we appreciate that. They have made a recommendation in their staff report that, in summary, suggests that going from industrial to commercial, industrial at the north end of the site down to commercial, that's a logical transition from the large warehouses north of the property down to Worsville Road. They've asked us to agree to certain commitments that certain types of uses would not be allowed, and that certain improvements would be done. Those are outlined in the 5 commitments that can be summarized, that they've asked us to agree that street improvements would be completed in collaboration with Mr. St. John. We're fine with that. The site access points would meet the traffic study recommendations. We had a traffic study done that said this site and these uses would operate at a very acceptable level of service. The proposed trails would be installed in connection with site plan improvements. There wouldn't be storage of truck trailers and semi-truck trailers on the CL parcel. And then they asked that 5 uses be prohibited: overnight lodging, extended stay, storage, self-endorsed storage, vehicular gasoline without convenience sales, vehicular sales, automobiles, and vehicular sales, motorcycles. And the client, the petitioner, is agreeable to entering into all those commitments. So in summary, the proposed zoning allows for an industrial and commercial use, with the industrial to be located right next door to the industrial uses to the north, and the commercial uses to be located right at the corner of Worsville Road and Collins Road. The site's owned by the school corporation, and as you've heard them testify, it's really not a great site for a school. I looked at the tax records. This site generates no tax income now. It has an assessed value of 0 because it's owned by a governmental entity. So not only in the short term will the sale benefit the school, but in the long term, when this substantial capital investment is made on the site, we estimate that with this rezoning and the capital investment that could occur, you could have $25 to $30 million in investment on a site that now generates no tax revenue and has no assessed value. So that would be a very significant change in terms of tax base of the community. And the proposed development, I understand, will also include over $1 million expenditure in extending utilities, primarily water line utilities, along Collins Road and Worsville Road to this area. Petitioner agreed to all of staff's requested commitments, and that they have offered a favorable recommendation to this. We would respectfully ask for your favorable recommendation and try to answer your questions. Thank you for your time.
Now it's time for any remonstrators who'd like to speak. Please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Gary Woodmore, 2730 East Woodville Road, Greenwood, Indiana. This is my first time, guys, so I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not sure what to say, except for a couple of things that concern me. On the house that wasn't on the photo up there, that map looks pretty big, but on the house right next to that property, I have 1 acre. And what concerns me is like overflow of water. Where's all the water that comes? It comes with my property. Also, the extra noise that's quiet there is going to affect a lot of my privacy. They're already from the subdivision behind me and across the street where they show all the empty field. Right now, another realtor, I know they're already selling that property under the table, where they're gonna put big warehouses across the street from it. So that's all going to be big warehouses across the street. They're gonna be putting another big warehouse behind, right beside me, with 2 commercial buildings there or whatever on that 5 acres. You know, what's the buyer gonna do for me? It's gonna affect not only my property value, but noise, you know, the quiet living, like I said, more traffic. The school's gonna get rid of the property right across the other side of the interstate, which is west of us. We're building a brand new baseball fields for these kids. The school's right there, right next to the interstate, just on the other side. You know, so I don't see where all this is going, except for it's all going warehousing and big bulk commercial around there. So that concerns me a lot about my property and my value, my well-being as far as privacy and stuff like that. I'm not really sure what else to say, except for, I'm not really, first time I've been in this, and it's affected me. I feel I'm like, you know, it's all about money. Everybody's about money here. It's all about money tonight. Well, what are they gonna do for me about all the noise, all the semis driving by, shaking your house, probably going down the road, you know, if it increases. You know, right now, Amazon's far enough back from me that I actually do hear a beeping of some of their Ford trucks, whatever they drive over there, or if it's other type of equipment. So, and that's, the map looks big, but really, if you look at where my house is, I'm pretty close to that, real close. So, I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Good evening, Randy Gooden, 1157 Central Park Boulevard, South Greenwood, Indiana, 46143. Many of you know I've worked with the council, the plan commission, and others for the past 6 years to help slow some of the developments out in this area. This development, I understand the schools need to sell the property, no opposition to that at all. My concern is the rezone, and the reason is we just heard the gentleman speak about the increase in noise that will happen. On the vicinity map that you should have, you will see the site laid out where it's an aerial photograph. And just to the east of that, you can see the grid laid out for new homes that are being developed in that area. With the property line that I saw drawn in Brian's presentation, this industrial large back right after those houses. And some people say, well, that's not really an issue. Well, it is when the lights are flooding your home. It is when the noise is something that you hear all the time, whether it's semi-traffic, whether it's forklift backing up, or whatever it is. If you don't put sufficient distance and buffers between these types of buildings, you make it very intolerable for those people that are building those new residences. If this were pushed forward, I would advise those people that are developing now in their residence to stop what you're doing to sell your property. And the reason I say that is, again, because of where I'm located, and I know just the noise and the traffic that I get coming out of a roundabout and sitting next to a gas station. I know this is not a gas station. This is going to be something that will likely be operated 24 hours, just like the gas station. That will have traffic 24 hours, just like the gas station. That will be emitting air pollution 24 hours, just like the gas station. I don't think it's fair to our neighbors that have invested their time, their efforts, and their money to build in a town where they trusted that their home values stay stable, that they would have somewhat of a quiet quality of living out where they started to build these. And I really think that we could do better. Again, I have no opposition to selling the property. It's just the zone change to the industrial. The commercial, I think, is fine. The industrial backing up to these homes is something that I think is very unfair to those people out there. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to remonstrate? If not, Joey, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. So the first gentleman that spoke, let's address his concerns first. And of course, we understand that it's going to go from a farm field to something developed. So there's definitely going to be an impact. We can't disagree with that and appreciate his concerns. The one thing that developers have done in this proposed petition, I think this exhibit shows it, his home and other building, I believe, is that salmon colored blocks on the far right-hand corner of this exhibit. And so what this exhibit shows is that there will be several hundreds of feet between his actual home and the industrial use to the north above it, and several hundred feet from the boundary line of his property to the boundary line of the CL zone. And that's several hundred feet. You can kind of see in that exhibit has got a number of trees and wetlands areas and green areas that are going to stay in that position. Now, will that completely eliminate the effects of development of a corner and development to the north of it? No, but it certainly will mitigate because of the distance and the fact that the petitioner is leaving that alone and leaving it in the ag zoning, that nothing's going to happen to it. I think it will help mitigate the effect of development. The other exhibit that shows that is this exhibit, where you can see, and this addresses Mr. Gibson's concerns for the development to the east, the residential development. So if you look along there, all that heavy stand of trees east of the orange colored area where an industrial or IL building could go, that's going to stay in place. And so those homes are going to be several hundred feet from the property line of that IL zone area. And this isn't certain because I have to come back before the planning department for site plan approval, but that shows the end of the building, not the area of the building where the trucks would be in and out up against that wooded area. That logically, to me, that's probably how it's going to develop, because if you look at the site, it's a site that accommodates something that's long and narrow up at the north end next to Graham Road, better than it would accommodate something running north and south. That's not to say for certain that that'll happen that way, but the planning department and the site plan review, it'll have to come back before you. And that several hundred feet of woods and green area will remain in place between the edge of that building and those houses to the east. The petitioner is more than willing, if the planning commission would decide, to install a berm along the east side of that IL wall. Maybe that gets determined when we come back for site plan review, but they have the capacity to do that. One of the first gentleman understandably mentioned drainage concerns. We've shown a couple of drainage locations on this site plan. We'll have to contain all our water and meter it out, measure it out in a fashion that won't affect our downstream neighbors. We won't be able to get a permit without doing that. So in summary, it seems to me the concerns are, what's this going to do to the one neighbor? And then what's it going to do to our future residential neighbors to the east? And this development plan, by preserving that area here, down in the southeast corner of it, leaving it AG zoning, I think creates some distance and some buffer and some mitigation to the effect of development at this site. I think it's probably pretty likely that in an intersection like Collins and Worsville and Interstate 65, it's probably pretty likely that the properties right along there are going to see some development. This seems like a responsible way to do it and provide a screening and buffering to these two very legitimate concerns.
Thank you. Demonstrators have 5 minutes. Should they like to use it? Please.
quoting from the site that is based on what they're doing in the northeastern United States. The fine particles in diesel exhaust can aggravate asthma, cause lung damage, and even lead to premature death. Diesel fumes could travel several feet, more than 400 feet. What's in them that's of concerns? Nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, which is the solid or liquid particles found in the air, and fine and ultrafine particulate matter are the severe health concern because it can get into the lower part of the lungs. Again, I'm just trying to look out for the people that are sitting to the east of this, that are building those new homes. Whichever way we orient this parking lot, it's really not gonna matter, because if the truck is sitting there idling, it doesn't matter if it's on the south, the north, east, or the west. The fumes are still going to carry. The noise is still going to carry. And I know, see, a lot of people are gonna argue with me about the noise. They don't always have the exhaust pipes on, and they can be very noisy, even at idle speeds. I don't see anything to try and contain the noise here, to again contain the light. They're talking about this area of land, which for the gentleman down in that area, I'm happy for him. I'm glad somebody's looking out for him. But what about his neighbors, again, just to the east, who are investing all of this time and money to try and have a quiet, quality of life? And now we're gonna put this right back up against them. Again, I have no problem with zoning this. I have no problem with selling of it. It's just the way that they are trying to zone with industrial large. That we could possibly go down to a medium or something like that, that brings the building further away from the neighbors, and we put in some type, implement something to control the noise, the light, and the pollution that will be coming from this area. If it was further to the north and further away from the homes, yes, not a big deal, but these people are gonna be affected. So again, thank you.
There's still a couple minutes for demonstrators, if somebody'd like to use it.
Real quick. That's when I about the noise, where the grade, looks like that's where all the parking is. That's a lot of trees though, where that area's coming out. There will be some trees left over, but there's a lot more trees there. That is a buffer, and I still hear it. Okay, and another thing that concerns me is that little agriculture area that's gonna donate, donate to what's gonna happen there, on the way back in here again. Another year from now, plus across the street, that's still one big warehouse. So that's what I'm concerned about, all that around me. Thank you.
Okay, close the public hearing. Questions or concerns among the planning commission members? Yes.
My only concern would be, I travel that road every day to go to the VFW. And when I come across Worsville from Averitt Road, there's a lot of heavy traffic, trucks, semis. At some point, if we build in, whoever buys it or sells it's got to add an extra lane, a road. It's very tough. If you see the cars coming off of Graham onto Collins, it's real tough.
You want me to weigh in on that, or do you want the petitioner to weigh in on that?
Whoever wants to do it, you can.
So they have submitted a traffic impact study. Traffic impact study shows there's a lot of capacity of those intersections out there. There's issues with traffic currently during the EMP. Typically, we wouldn't require capacity or intersection improvements like that unless there was showed that there was an issue there, and specifically if they created.
So like a death, is that what you're waiting for?
No, capacity would be.
No, I mean,
No, capacity would.
I
would be
travel
traffic
every
lights.
day, 365 days for 4 years. And it's bad quite a bit, all hours of the day. That's all I'm saying.
What kind of things are we talking about, like commercial large off the top, like?
I'll jump in here too and say, I know it wasn't talked about.
I should
Mr. Tui's discussion here, but the traffic impact study did show gas station is what they use for generation of the traffic impact study, just so the commission is aware. And Gabe will expand more on the industrial large use.
Yeah, I can go into the uses. Some of the uses that are allowed in the industrial large, staff has asked that they are prohibited via a commitment. So really what we were looking at is uses that are more oriented to highway truck traffic for the commercial portion of it. Some of it they are proposing to be industrial. And I can go through those uses as well. Just to give you kind of a rundown, the fast food, commercial restaurants, you do have in the commercial large. You have office, you do have some hotels. We had excluded one of the hotel uses that's maybe more associated with overnight long-term staying with some of the highway intense uses. The commercial large allows for some multi-unit buildings. It does allow for assisted living. It does allow for neighborhood commercial, retail, art gallery, some self-storage, which we had in the list, personal care, beauty, tattoo, clothing, dry clean. A lot of your just commercial uses here. It's there are some motion picture, museum, some of the more unique commercial uses are allowed there as well. We do have some of the veterinary clinic, vehicular sales,
I know that's.
et cetera.
that's a
And
commitment.
some of those uses that we felt were more intense and less suitable for the neighborhood that's developing around there. We had asked to exclude in our commitments. So we did exclude the gas station without retail. So just to have pumps there, we did exclude that. We want something that is able to serve the area. So that was for the commercial large portion, which is a part of the zoning request.
Can I ask a question about the uses for commercial? So the petitioner is willing to do with a reduced list of uses that are more compatible with your expectations of the property?
So we had recommended a commitment, which Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's agreed to limit the uses where the following uses would not be allowed, and that would run with the land. To be recorded in the chain of title, overnight lodging, extended stay, vehicular self-storage indoor, vehicular gasoline without convenience sales, vehicular sale automobiles, and vehicular sale motorcycles.
Thank you.
I've got a question for planning. And it's based on my concern is not with the southwest corner that's going to be proposed rezoned commercial, but with the portion that's going to be proposed rezoned industrial. What exactly does the comprehensive plan call for on this entire parcel?
So we do have two different plans. There is the comprehensive plans, and then there is the I-65 Worstel Road Interchange Line Use Plan, which is not part of the criteria that you are required to review, to my knowledge. The comprehensive plan recommends mixed-use development. That is what most of the area to the east recommends. It does specify kind of in detail mix of even just different types of residential. So it's difficult to exactly pin down what they trying to, what mixed use really meant if they're allowing for that, but this was mixed use in the comprehensive plan. They're proposing a split zoning, half industrial, half commercial. I think the comprehensive plan probably lean more towards residential mixed use, if I read it correctly, but it does kind of leave it as a, there's a large swath of land that's mixed use towards the east in a comprehensive plan.
From my experience on the council, it's always been my understanding that this row of properties has been thought of as residential, retail, and commercial, but definitely not industrial. So my concern is with the north half of this property being zoned industrial, that we're letting industrial creep too far towards Worsville Road itself. Worsville Road is supposed to be this additional gateway to the city of Greenwood. It's not supposed to be industrial, but it's supposed to be more residential, retail, commercial use. That's my concern with this proposal, is that it doesn't jive with the comprehensive plan or the current plans of the city of Greenwood.
I had a question. I believe Mr. Tui listed some of the water utility was going to be extended. I know the Indiana American likes to close loops. And they have a water main on the east-west section of Graham Road, just as it gets out around 65, it stops right about there. To continue, that went over to Collins also.
I'll let Mr. Robert answer that question because I think he knows the answer.
Would you mind restating the exact location you're talking about?
Sure. And the water main for Graham, comes south on Graham Road, just some distance before it turns and goes to the east. And so there is no water on that section of Graham Road. And I know Indiana American likes to close loops to balance pressures and stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, the residential development is responsible for pulling that water line down Graham Road. That's what we've been told. Our project will be responsible for pulling the water line south on Collins.
Okay.
And then also west down Worthsville from the east end of the property for acquiring. So all three sides of our property will have water line. It's just we're not responsible for the north property line, water line that would go into the residential development.
Okay.
So I believe we are creating the loop you're referencing. I just didn't want to take credit for building the one on the north side of the property.
Any other questions? Ms. Coons, could you quote the criteria for us?
I will remind you, in making a recommendation to the legislative body, common council, please pay reasonable regard to the following. 1, the comprehensive plan. 2, the current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. 4, the conservation of property values throughout Greenwood. And 5, responsible development and growth.
Okay. Does anyone have a motion for us?
Mr. President, starting PC 2023-031 Green Tree Land Holdings LLC, 23.9 acres. Move the petition for the zone map change to rezone approximately 23.09 acres of land located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Worsville Road and Collins Road within the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, from AG Agricultural District to IL Industrial Large Format Zone and CL Commercial Large Format Zone as set forth there, and receive a favorable recommendation from this commission to the Greenwood Common Council. The same certified to the agreement, common council in the form of presented with the following comments. Commitments, which was presented.
5 commitments.
5 commitments presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Walker, second by Monica. Any other questions or comments prior to voting? Seeing none, all in favor? Please have a show of your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 8-1. Okay, the next item on the agenda.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have another public hearing. This for PC 2023-032. It's Pulte. I believe it's gone. Zone map change. Pardon me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Again, this is a public hearing. We have 10 minutes for the presenter, and then that'll be followed by 10 minutes for any demonstrators. Both of those will be followed by 5-minute follow-up periods. You'll need to be sworn in. Anybody who's going to speak.
You swear to tell the truth, that's what is true to the best of your knowledge. Thank you.
State your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Apologies for the technical challenges here. Good evening, Rex Ramage, Pulte Homes, 11590 North 14th Street. We're here this evening seeking a change in zone map or rezoning for a 24-acre parcel. This is the Gone property. So we're in the vicinity. The parcel lies between Combs Road and Five Points Road, north of Main Street, south of County Line, and northeast quadrant of the city. The subject parcel here is outlined in red. Just kind of putting in perspective for everyone, kind of the adjacent developments that we're aware of in the area. The Casey's up on the county line, the Denton Floyd apartment project up on the county line. The Ridgetop parcel that's kind of there, white in the center. The subject property to the east of Five Points Road, let's see, is the Sage Drive development that's the restricted Del Webb community that you may have seen recently in the last year or so. And then, of course, the proposed Buckingham project there at 5 Points and Main Street down to the south. So 24-acre parcel. It's unique in that, unlike the parcels to the north and the south, it does have a cutout, single-family home along 5 Points that you see on the eastern side of the development there. There would be a total of 55 lots, all would be compliant with the residential medium zoning district. We have had some conversations via the technical review committee process and some adjacent conversations with staff about substreets and making sure that all comes back at the site development plan process. So it may look a little bit different with respect to the substreets, but that's generally the layout of the property. I heard drainage mentioned in the previous project, so I'll just go ahead and address that now. Before we do any type of community design, the first thing that we look at is where does the water want to go? We size and locate the ponds appropriately, and then we design around it. So in this instance, you can see some of the water wants to go kind of due north to the center of the project, and then some water really wants to go to the northwest and then up Combs Road. So working on that, and that is sized and located appropriately. This is kind of just to give you a flavor of the style of homes you may see. We have a variety of architectural styles. There will be a combination of some ranch and some two-story floor plans, a mixture of materials. We would not propose to do any type of attached housing or anything like that. This is all single-family detached homes. We expect the range today to be somewhere between 350 and 500. Quite frankly, it's pretty tough to be under 400 these days, but I never want to sit here and say that it wouldn't be. Given today's environment. One of the things that I think we're still going back and forth on, and I think we're probably going to have to do a continuance on this item just to refine some of the language in the proposed conditions from staff is there's a standard in the UDO that talks about separation of streets or separations of intersections in subdivisions. So on the east side of 5 Points Road, that was the Sagemeyer Del Webb development. Here is blow up of the distance between the two intersections. Right now, it's about 194 feet. The UDO requires 150. I know engineering and planning, we like to see it, or they like to see it a little bit further than the 194 that's shown. So just to make sure we're all comfortable, I think we're going to ask for continuance tonight so that we can refine the plan, figure out what the maximum distance can be. We're kind of limited, as you can see, there's common area to the north of the single family house, the single family lot there. So the street's not going to flip to the north. And unfortunately, despite our efforts to inquire on the other parcels, we do not own the parcel to the north. We do not own the parcel to the south, so we're kind of restricted. But I think we're going to agree to work with staff, make sure we're all comfortable with the language. That way, when this comes back to you, everyone's happy, there's a bow on it, and then we can continue to move through the process with the understanding that what we bring forward is going to be approved by staff. So with that, I know Mr. McManus and his wife are in the audience tonight. They are the owner of this single family home there. I don't know if they wish to say anything, but I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of this? Are there any remonstrators? Please state your name and address.
John McManus, 1020 North 5 Points Road, Greenwood, Indiana, 46143.
We're going to go ahead and let him speak since you've opened the hearing, and then we will just continue the hearing without closing it to however long you think you need to work that out, and then.
Yeah, I only have one concern.
You know,
I
come back.
understand the building behind, the homes behind me. I think it's very cool that, they're putting up nice homes. My concern is, if you see where my property is, that they're wanting to put a road off 5 Points Road right next to my house. That's my biggest concern. One, safety, two, noise. 5 Points Road, if you've been on it, it's a drag strip. Police officers can sit on there all day long and write ticket after ticket after ticket. I don't understand why people got to drive 60, 70 miles an hour now. So there's a traffic issue with that. And of course, you're going to build 500 homes across the street from me. So that's kind of concern with more traffic come in there. I would think the subdivision would be better off not having through traffic from 5 Points Road. I think would make it a little bit nicer for subdivision. But that is a concern. The one safety and noise, and it's right on top of my property. There's not much from the east there where you're going to put this road. And so that's my biggest concern. Other than that, I think great. I'm just wanting to voice my opinion on the road.
Okay, thank you.
How long do you think you need?
Probably just to this body meets once a month, right? Not twice a month.
Every second and fourth Monday of the month.
Second, fourth. 26 would be the next. I think we can iron it out before then. I did promise Mr. McManus and his wife that I would come out and meet with them. I can definitely do that this week or next. And then after that conversation, follow the staff.
We're gonna, if you are amenable and I would recommend a motion to continue the hearing, not closing it, to the June 26th meeting, and then it can be resumed at that meeting. Motion to.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Walker. All those in favor, please sign or show your right hand. All opposed, same sign. There is 9-0. We will not close this, but we will continue it on the 26th. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is PC 2023-034, the floodplain ordinance text amendment. This is a public hearing. The applicant for this is the city of Greenwood.
And I'll be speaking on behalf of the city of Greenwood. So this,
Could you please administer the oath?
is Nelson.
Please start off any perjury as they go through the best knowledge.
I do. So the staff report that you guys were sent shows the areas that we would like to change. None of these are changing the text of the floodplain ordinance that you guys recently recommended approval for. These are basically some spacing and formatting errors that DNR wanted us to correct. So we adopted the ordinance that they requested. They said it looked good. Now they come back and said there's a couple areas that they want the spacing, none of the actual substance is changing. And so I would request that you recommend a favorable recommendation for the text amendment.
Okay, are there any questions by the members of the commission? Okay, we do have statutory criteria.
Consider the same thing because it has to do with zoning. When you make a recommendation regarding the text amendment, 1, the comprehensive plan, 2, the current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district, 3, the most desirable use for the land in each district is adapted, 4, the conservation of property values throughout Greenwood, and 5, responsible development and growth.
Okay, I think the motion would just merely be a favorable or unfavorable recommendation of the UDO text amendments.
I move that the petition to amend the text of the Unified Development Ordinance and Greenwood Municipal Code 1993 as amended, Chapter 10, Section 10-02-31, Flood Hazard Overlay District, to correct errors in section references as set forth therein, receive a favorable recommendation from this commission to the Greenwood Common Council, and that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Gardner, a second by Monica. Any comments or questions before we take a vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please show a sign of your right hand up. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Mr. Nelson, you have your text amendment.
Thank you. I'll be for council soon.
No more time, please.
Finally, we have PC 2023-039, Harmony at Greenwood easement vacation.
My name is Jackie Briggs, 1478 Eagle Trace Drive, Greenwood, Indiana, 46143. County Line Properties purchased 7.7 acres in Block B of Greenbrook Park in 2017 with the intent to develop it. This plat provided for a detention easement. In 2020, County Line Properties began working with Smith Packet out of Roanoke, Virginia, on development of Harmony at Greenwood, which is an upscale retirement living facility. That provides for, this is with planning right now, projects 2022-101 and 2022-102. The site plan has provided for drainage at the south end of the parcel. And the petitioner is requesting that the detention easement shown on the 2017 plat be vacated since it has been provided for in the new plans for Harmony Green.
Anybody have any questions?
So two is not needed or recommended by staff, is that correct?
This is a recommendation from you guys to council. This has also been for the Board of Public Works and Safety. Staff's position on this is we are favorable. The plans have changed and detention is provided elsewhere. There's no longer a need for this drainage easement. So I guess we're favorable of what Jackie is requesting for Harmony.
And staff's opinion is that the easement is no longer necessary for this property.
In that
Correct.
location.
In that location.
In that location, they're still providing drainage, quantity, quality, following our standards. Just the idea of where that is going to be located has changed since the time that the plat was originally platted.
Yes. Your motion.
Mr. President, I move to find that the vacation of the detention easement and the replat of Greenbrook Park Block B in the city of Greenwood as proposed would not, one, hinder the growth or orderly development of the city of Greenwood or the neighborhood in which they are located or to which they are contiguous. Two, make access to the property by means of public way difficult or inconvenient. Three, hinder the public's access to a church, school, or other public building or place. Four, hinder the use of a public way by the neighborhood in which they are located or to which they are contiguous. Nor, five, adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the general public or delivery of services to the public. That the Plan Commission recommend that the detention easement be vacated as proposed and authorize the Plan Commission president to execute and deliver a memorandum regarding these findings and this recommendation to the Common Council in the Plan Commission's behalf.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Monica. Questions or comments before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Do we have any new business from the floor? Are there any announcements regarding the 26th approval? We've already talked about business.
Yeah, right now we do have business on through the 26th in addition to the business that will continue through 26. So, full agenda.
Next time. Miss you.
And likewise.
Me too.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to, Zoom in, is that what it's called?
Yes.
I'm old. For the BZA, I might be able to catch some of this.
Okay, let me warn you, it's not always as easy as it sounds. As you saw from me last 2 weeks ago, I was struggling. Mr. Walker.
I will be in Europe, but I will be able to, it'll be 2 a.m. over there. So I
I can go wake up.
I can zoom in.
Brian, I'll give you a wake up call.
I would appreciate it, but no, I can do that if you guys are short people, but I will have to zoom in. Okay, well.
Once we have 6 present. You may.
Yeah, and it sounds like we have 6 present. So. I have that. One more motion.
To adjourn.